I'll just introduce the names of the next three speakers. We have Igah Sanguya from Clyde River. We have Amy Caughey, who has been in Nunavut for over 20 years, and Martha Jaw from Kinngait. We'll start with Igah first, I think.
Qoyanamik tungasawiti peqannaqayartaavut namituinna Igah Sanguya kalaatinunaalimiun qovianaq tamaanikassi ammaki tamakkua innakulukpu ilittugut amissunni ilinnuimi ilissinning. I'd like to say welcome everyone, and our new friends from Kanak, from Kalahti Nunat. We all are in this together because, as I said, my name is Igah Sanguya. I'm from the Inuksiutiit Silaulu Asjipalярanga, which is our food and climate change. Qoyanami Inuit tukisinaqtumit uqallaqattaqassi ajigingittumit qilameelu qawyimaashamaqta. We know from this conference that the generations are massive, but they come from very, very short time, like people who were born in igloos or tents. Now they have cell phones, technology. In a very, very short time, this is happening. This must be something else for you, for us. But as Inuit, we have the same foods. We know that our foods are important to us. For one thing, they're nutritious, the most nutritious for us who are ukiartaqtumiu. Ukiartaqtumiu luta niqaqaqaqata tamakkuninga tamani peqattaqtattinding. Suuqaima timittinu atongmata, nillasuptumu atongmata. Unikkaaqaardullunga ataatagilaortaqa pilaunga sorlu niqinnammu inuulaungan. Tapvadi aanaving me yaaqattartuna aatuwaami. Uimauqauttiluninga piyunnaillimmat nerigunnaillimmat atigo niqimi nattivinikulungmit su maunga makuttianu pilaunnaqqaqa makinniarmanga neriyunnarniarmanga aswilla nattivinikulummi pikama taimailertunga aswilla neriqattaartulertuni makittu. That's our sustainability, our food. Ila. Makittu. Issivaqattalertu. Neriyunnaqsiyo. Makuningarunni neqillariungit ila neqingitattini piartigunnaqsiyo. Teema annarorsimangmiyo. So with this project, we are fortunate to have Amy and consultants, of course, that we are able to get our food back to the society. But because there's also other foods very available these days, our kids, our grandchildren have so much variety that they're not eating as much as we are, which is sad, but we have to tell them how nutritious it is, and it sustained our ancestors for many, many years. So our project consists of getting that back through videos, and we enjoy it, right? We do. Tema Teikuara makutukuru okausaki kan neramakkauyakka iliniartukuru upegivassi inuya amaru taktu Nancy takwa upegittiarpassi pileriassini kajusittiarniaqqusi tamakkua appiartuugaruat ilissiugassi ikajurnartusi. I already told you that our food is our soul food. Remember that. Tamakkua inne piyumallara garuaqaimmata nikhimining maannaurattu uqatsaangimmata tunisilugit piyummayamning quyaliniartun taavungarima quyaliyunnartun ittuqilaurtaqaina qaqqasiulortu qaittilaorsimmammigakku igunarmi aiviu ujjarmi aiviu aivermingaartumi la taqqaanga manimat taummata minartaqa ittuqa aqqaagugasaalunni uqqauserilaursamayaanga taissumanigu qaittilaorsimagakku ujjarmi quvianginnaqattartu maannamu ila maanna inuyunniartiugaru kisiani teema quyalinniussayu tamakkua innein kammagittiarlavu niqininnu piluartumit ammanaalutiku tamakkua inuttiaqasvarni pijjutikillugu. Climate change tamanna sila asijaqpallianinga ujjernartuarungman niqivullu peqasiutinniusangmata suuqaima tamakkua oqaqqaumat ila oqartuqaqqaumat taqqi malillugit atuinnauninga atuqattaqattigu. As we know, our elders say that our animals that we catch are seasonal depending on what animal it is. Kisiani, but our months are getting, different. Like our ice is not forming at the usual time. It's very late, very late. But we have to follow it because we cannot change that. We have to follow it. Maligiaqartavu pitaqauyiinnarnaartuugara kisiani maligiaqartavu hanga piyunnarseqayammangaatigu. So tamakkua pileriaqartartavut tamatjaulutik ajingwakuri.
Thank you very much, Igah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amy Caughey. I am the one of the project team working on a few projects we're going to mention today. I'm a non-Indigenous nutritionist. I am very privileged to work with and learn from the Inuit women in this room about country food and community health. And I think that one of the things that we often speak about is something we've talked about already, which is how do we elevate Inuit knowledge within the structures of science and the realm that many of us are entrenched in within the North. So Igah's going to speak to this one a little after. So could you just flip 2 slides in advance? This is our, actually, maybe just go back one, go ahead. And go back one. So this is our, and I call this our lab. So this is, do you want to tell us where this is, Igah?
This is our beautiful laboratory. This is north of Clyde River, where we did our we cooked some country food, and we have the best laboratory in the world, as you can see.
Next slide. Okay.
These are my hands. Yeah, this is a bit of caribou meat that we also had at our lab up north in Clyde River. So
Okay. Next one.
we can have lab anywhere. This is our cabin also in near Clyde River, like using common stove, making fish heads at that time. It was good. Like you also feel the air, the quietness in the lab. So again, good lab.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think we highlight these pictures as where we do our work because sometimes the place where you do the work is as important or more important about than what work you're doing, and they go hand in hand. And it's very key within our research program that researchers live in Inuit communities in Nunavut. So this project is mostly run by people living in the communities, which makes it a bit different than some of the research that's happened in the past. So the geese analogy of the geese flying in and flying out, these are more like the ptarmigans that just stay here for the winter. So next slide, please. Next one. Okay, so some of you may be familiar with this photo, and I like to, when I'm talking about nutrition, and sometimes I talk to people outside of Nunavut about health and nutrition, and I like to start with this photo, which is something that I learned a lot from, and this picture is from the National Archives of Canada. And it's a picture taken in 1948 in Nauyat. And I think many people in this room will know who's in this picture. But in the National Archives of Canada, this is described, the doctor is named, the photographer is named, and the women and the babies are not named, of course. And what's happening here is this is a doctor from the National Health and Welfare Department, which is now called Health Canada or the Public Health Agency of Canada. And at this time, this doctor is bringing pablum, which was developed at the University of Toronto as a fortified baby cereal, almost like a vitamin in a cereal. This doctor was bringing this to Inuit communities across the north because there was a situation where people believed that babies were malnourished. So at this time in history as well, a very, very brief history just for this could be a whole day's discussion, but at this time, Inuit were being encouraged to trade furs with the Hudson Bay Company, and there was some discussion about that yesterday, about what a fox was worth. So this really coincided with some very significant disruptions to food systems within Nunavut, within the north and across the north. And throughout this research, I actually was talking with some people in Arviat and learned that the woman facing the camera is Kuki Kusagak, and the baby is Michael Kusagak. And so the next thing we're going to do is send a letter to the National Archives of Canada so they can add the woman and the baby's name to that. But I think this is a significant when we talk about history, the history and the history of colonization and how it impacts nutrition and food systems within the North. Next slide, please. So just briefly, we know that country food is associated with improved food security and improved nutrition. So diet quality is better on days when people eat country food than on days that they don't. And this applies across the lifespan. So this is for adults and children. And this is not anything anyone in this room doesn't know. But this is actually from a nutrition and for doctors and nurses and people dealing with health, this is a very important element, because if we were to remove country food from the diet, we're very concerned, because on the days when people eat country food, their intakes of things like healthy fats, of protein, of vitamins are much better than on days when people don't eat country food. And in fact, when people are eating country food, on the days they eat country food, their intakes of things like sodium and saturated fats are lower. Next slide, please. So this research program, I will mention, was guided by the National Inuit Strategy on Research, and I would encourage anyone who hasn't read that to do so. And we wrote a research paper for people who are interested in reading research papers. We wrote one about that process we went through to develop this research program. Next slide. Our research program privileges Inuit knowledge to support community health and well-being and country food as medicine, which Igah has already spoken about. Next slide, please. So I wanted to just tell you again, for the people who are interested in research papers, about a qualitative study that we worked on as a group. And really, this speaks to what we've been talking about over the past few days about what knowledge exists and what knowledge is relevant and what knowledge is out there to be read. And sometimes we've all experienced when something is, say, not in a research paper, is not in a scientific study, it's perceived almost that it doesn't exist. And within our research group, one of the challenges that we've talked about is health professionals, researchers, many people not understanding the role of country food and how important it is, and the difference between healthy food from the store and country food. And so we undertook, within our group and within the Kikitani region in Nunavut, to do some qualitative conversations and storytelling with Inuit women about what country food is to them and what it means to them. And so we're in the process of publishing this in the journal called Arctic Science, which I think likely doesn't have a lot of things like this in it. So what we found, what we found was that, of course, Inuit women identified country food as food security and as something to eat and nourishment, but it went much further than that. So women discuss country food as something that is needed for healing, to satisfy cravings. It's central to well-being and identity. It's key to change and changing food systems. And I just wanted to share with you a few quotes from the women who were involved in these conversations. Next slide. So I think this one woman had expressed, and actually several people expressed, that you cannot just live on food from the store. If you eat a lot of store-bought meat, you're constantly hungry. And this is, I think, really what encapsulates, encompasses what food security means and food sovereignty. So food sovereignty is having food that fills you and makes you feel whole and actually satisfies your hunger. So the idea that you can be hungry even if you have food to eat, if it's not the right food, is very key to what was communicated about country food for Inuit women. Next slide. And then often people describe country food as soul food, so it's good for the body and good for the soul. And this is something that goes very far and wide that we could also talk about for days. Next slide. One woman expressed country food in this way: when you haven't had country food for a while and you finally have it, it's like, okay, this is what's been missing. And it brings you back home, and the whole body and mind and soul get connected, and you're back home to your life as an Inuk person. And I think when we talk about things like mental health and community well-being, these are the things that we talk about. And in fact, if someone said this about a medication, we'd probably have a very well-funded trial right away to figure out how we could provide that to everyone. Next slide, please. Another aspect of storytelling within this nutrition science is when people talk about what parts of an animal they eat. And this is a bit of a different way of talking about. Oh, yes. Okay. This is a bit of a different way to talk about food and nutrition. Often we have nutrition surveys where a researcher maybe would ask someone, here's 10 things and do you eat them and how often? But when you ask someone, what do you eat? You get a very different story sometimes, and this was the case. So one person said, beluga lungs, when they're cooked, they're chewy and lovely. We eat the skin, we eat the meat, the intestines, the heart are all eaten, the cartilage is delicious, everything is eaten, and the skin can be fermented too. And so within health systems, this is very important information to know what kinds of food people are eating, where the nutrients are, and this is something that really cannot be achieved through surveys. And so relying on Inuit-centered methods like storytelling are really key to our research program. Next slide. Okay, next one. Okay. And next is Martha, who has said many wise things. One of them, though, is this quote, when I eat my country food, I get more alive and it makes me whole.
Ulaminikut. Martha Jagujunga. Kimmiruminu inunikutsunga mani kingarni pirornikujunga. 1969 gotillugu kingarnun. Lausimajunga. Iqaluit taavunga hatigillugu. Taimangani kingarmiugujunga. Taima hujalijunga taakununga ensaap kunnun ilaugama huviagillarittaka taakkua ilauvigigiangin inunnuulingajuning inuillunerhinginning inuillu iliqqusinginning haujititsivalliagumalluting tamaunga tamaani nunaqqatittinning ammalu nunaqqatigingitattinning tamakkunangan uhausikkut ammalu ajjiliuqtau simajukkut ilinniatitsigutitsaning aaqqituimmata upigillarittaka taakkua ilakka unapitsiartialuvun ikajortillarialuvun Caughey uvattinnu tunganallaritsuni taimaapiqatiqarumallaritsuni uvattinning ilautitsimman tabbani ensaapkut aulatanginni taana aulatsijigijavun kamajigijavut taikkualu naansikku piirukut ilauhattarmiyuung tamaungarai matataavanga Scotland ming taakkua huviagillarihattartavun kingarnutuinnaungittuuq mitsimatalimmun kangertugaapimmun nunalinnullu asinginnu tamakkununga aulataminnun inunnuulingajuning siammarterivalliajut ilautitsivalliatsuting inunnuulingajuning Inuit iliqqusinginnik Inuit nerihattartanginnillu haujijaukaivallianermun aulatjaivalliatsuting taimailingajoq tamakkuaqilaluaviniin nerisuurigattigu taanna ameqqunga arnanun neriqatigiigu tausuugutsuni huviagijautsuni qilaluarnasaartoqartillugu ameqqungani arnauqatigi nartuni neriqatigia huvianarnerpaatsiagujung qaiqullugit arnauqativut ila imaigiaqasuuqluusaarmijung pijaugiangartuuq taatsuma qilaluartuvinium ilaginerpaanginning attuanerpaani uvattinnun qaiqqujikainasuugujugun pinasaartautillugu qilaluaq amma imailingasuugummijugut ameqqorunaalerigatta kikkulimaaning upagumajulimaaning upattitsisuugummijugut illuvut nerukittuugaluarpan taanna huvianarnerpaallaring Arnai huviasuttut, arnai nilliajut, hanuiliuqaluaq mangata tukisinaqunneertu, huvianallaqittuq, habbarnallaqittuq. Ila huvianaqtuq. Suurlu naujaat, naujait, taikani, ainigijaminni, nilliajut, tingijut, tukisinnangittu, tusarnertualui, suurlu arnain, nipikijangin, huviatsatsutik, taimaanilliasuugummatam. Huvianallaqittuŋila taimaa mamarsarsutillu hujalitsutillu hilaluartuminernilu hujalitsutin taimaanilliaqatigiisuugummatam tamaani hikirtaalummi amiqurtuqatigiitsutik ammalu asinginni nunalinni neriqatigiinni tamakkua hilaluavinermi atjigiitsiangimimmata uvagulli amiqqungani neriqatigiisuuguyugut taikkua ilangi neriqatigiisuugummiyut talerunginnik mattaanginnillu tamanna huvianallaqittuq iqqaumayunga pingasuning sitamanilluunniin aqqaaguqarsunga taavani kimmirummiuvallaijung aulajijunga arnainnaalunni haertukkut ullattuning mikijulluŋa anaanaga ullaqataumman tautuptualui hilaluarni tamaani sinaaguurtuning ullattut angutingin asivarsimavallainermata angutini aulajingittunga anaanannu himattaugiaq isumavallainnirama taikani aulajilaqijunga anaanaga ullaqataumma tautuqataumma hilaluarner tamauna sinaaguurtuning kappiasugalappalainnirama taikani aulajisuugujunga arnainnain haertukku ullattut imau sinaagut hilaluarning taututtut hilaluarniartuqartillugulu huvianallaqihattartu hilalugai tamakkua kangersutinnu pulagaimmata Inuit taunungartun tautugiartu hilaluarning nilliajun taika tappika hanutuinna nilliajun umiakkut hilaluaqasuartuning huviagilaallarivunila uumajui tamarming huviagijaqaluavut pijaugasuartillugi tautugiangin hilaluarniartun huvianalaallaqit inunnullu Inuit aniaqarniujatuinnartun hilalugait kangersumun pulatillugit mattaangalu mamaritsutigu neriqatigigutigilugu mamaritsutigu huvianartualu nilliagutigigiangam tamanna nirhiapiin asianu
Yep. Next slide. Oh,
takuasune
next one. Yeah.
Tana unikaarigi tana unikaarigu malarmijaqap aivimeneq aiviit pijaugasuaqattamimmata ilaannikkut kangersutinnun pulaqattarmijun taavanilu kingaarni ima qanittuunginnasuugumman ukiugugaluakkut akaunaaqaimmat sinaangalu akaunaaqaimmat aibbagasuaqattartun huvianaaq aibbattuqarmat huatsautigimini niapinni nerigiaq aiviminiillun nerijauqattaqap liqaluaqaming huagutillugi tursuunnun ilijauqqanne suting itertauqqanner sutin nerijauluqaimata mamarsivalliatuinnartun tamanna taimailingammijo taakkua aiviminiin aggupalliajun hajuliatsaummata siqalillugin hilamialu siqalitsugin hajuliaqitsugin tamakkunangan piruqtuvinerni ilatsugin hilamialu in 10 or 15 minutes hilamialu vuhattartu hajunga mamartullarialulluni tamakkunangan piruqtuvinerni patiitinin carrotsning peasni ilatsugit neritsugi mamallaqittut palauarmillu neriqasiugiluni igunarsiagu hattarmijoq aivimeneq igunartortausuu kaungalu neringalu ila neqhitsiavallerialo aivimine neqijautillugu aqiattusuputaannartum qilamialu kaalernangittum taimaa qaujimagutigimimijavut aivimine neqitsugu kaalitsautigin aivimine taimaa aipagasualangalilaumiyu maannaqulu kinngarni piusitsiituinartut erngutaqatainnaanuuqatauqattarmat ataatatsiangata ilin ataatatsiamini maliqattayugami tamakkunangan uumajortaugasuartunik angunasuaqatauqattaqami taimaa neqiqarteqattartaatigut erngutarma akkalin angiyutsinik suurlu tainna ataatagiliujjausima yuqjuujaartu maannamunun tamakkununga uumajorning pigasuarsitaunikunganun upikillarittavut tainna nalligijavut erngutaapiga neqinikamataqattartaanga neqilerigiutsiajungittunga uuma uiga taggautillugu sujatsaqaqattaqama kamagunnaqattaqama huviagillariqattartaqa tamanna pigiuppalliagutigitsugu neqilerineq huviagillarittaqa aivimine mamartullarialu uusimatinnagulu asianik taakkuasunaliu una ilauvigijunginakku taavani kingngarni niarruit Iqaluit niarrunginnik igunaliusuuqtaqarmimman taanna inuusi uttuqi igunaliusuu niarruit ila Iqaluit niarrunginnik igunaquraimmata arnauqatiminik amma neqiyartoqujitsuni qaiqquji guteqasuugummijo neqiqateqatsiasuuqaalu Iqaluit niarrunginnik igunartoqateqarsuni peqatigisuuminik ammalu piliniuyunik tungasaaqutilarialuattau neqiqatigiinneq Iqaluit niarrungi igunarsiaqitsugit nunaqqatimini neqiqateqarnikkut uqsumi ulitsugit niarruit Iqaluit niarrunginnik igunarsiisuun asianik taakkua Iqaluviniit iluani ullumiujong nikkuliuqunnaqattaqatta ukiukukaluartillugu aujakku kisiani nikkuliurneq taimailingatjagunneertoq ullumi iluaniugaluaq nikkuliuqunnaqattartugut sunatuinnarnik nikkuliarigumajattinni siriangatillugi nikkugiirtinnagilluunniin neqijatsatinik mamakilugin neqigiangin sanagumajattinnik nikkuliusuugugu taakkua iluani aggorsimajut Iqaluit kiatsautiu iluani taikkua saverajait taakkua aaqqituinnartsugit nivingarunnarsituinnarsugi tamakkua neqingit sainiisi neqigutigisuunginnun qijunnun taimaa kapputitsugit taimaa isivingatsiartualuutillugit ulluunnun maqquunnun siriasuuqaapi taakkua siriatsia rilauqsimajakka taunangallu tariurming aitsersunga tariurmik imarmik imavimmik taakkua misutsimayun tariurming imarmi pisimayumun taanna Nunavut Kinngait ukiakkut adjiliortausimajoq maanna ukiugujutsaujaq aqqa taimailingajuk Kinngait ilanga takutsaungittu nunaqqatigit paanimiullu Sampudlat area miun valley miun RC miun town miun taimaa siammaqsimamman Iqaluit taavani kinngangni kinngaapiin taima innauleqaluartunga 73 ni ukiuqartunga mikiyuutillunga sitamanillukia tallimanillukia puvallugiarnikkuut aulalaornerama taavangan kinngangnik kimmerummik ukiunni tamaani maqquunniujutsaavisuq taavani tuviniugama tamaani 7 or 8 ukiuhalersunga tamaunga utikkanersunga taimaituviniugama tamaanilu ilinniariaqataulersunga taimaittuulaorsimagama ataatagalu tuhujuviniutsuni anaanagalu puvallunermun aullarsimalertillunun lertillunu taima iliqqusingagut piruluarsimanginnama takusimanginnama illuvigarmiittuni takusimangin qimutsikoorsimanginnama nunamuuqatauqattarsimanginnama pirursatsunga taimaittuusimagama soorlu taimaittuugaluartillunga taimaittuutsunga innaruqataartillunga uitsaqakatigakku kingngarnuulaorsimagama tamakkunanga nerigunasiangittungaluunniin inulertanik taitsumani pigumaluangitakkaluunni taimaittuugiilaorsimajunga maanna ukiukka 73 kugalua taima pirurnikuujunga taikkua mamariluaqattarsimajakka boiled chicken 18 ukiuqarsunga 19 qulaarsunga kingaleaqataulaorsimagama taima inullarittutit inuugunnangittunga qallunaatitullarillu inuugunnangittunga suurlu inuusera nalulersimatillugu kingngarnuulaorsimajunga kingngarnuuqama inuuserijama asianun takullarittunga kingngarnuuqama uqqarittu inuttitun uqqarittut uqarsitialuin iinlarialu taimaillarrittunun uqauseqallarittunun uqqinialunnun uqausitsiaqittualunnun tikilaorsimajunga amma nerinersapaaluin inulertaning niuverbeqaqaluartillugu kaaxattapallialerama pigumaqattapallialerama inuin neringinnik nerigiuqpallialilaorsimajunga iluunnalimaanginnik ullumimut haiqqujaungikkaluaqama iliqasungillunga taikunga upagunnammaqillertunga ullum pinasaaqtavinerning nerijoqarnerpan taavanilu kingngarni nuusimajun atuinnautitseqattamimmata aipattuminiugutilluunni aijatsaning taimailingahattarmaju iqalunnillu aitsivitsarning pitaqaqattamimma tamannaatsualu huviagiqattartavun iluunnatik asivautiqangimmata asivautiillu nuujjutiillu tamakkua akitujualuummata taimailingatillugu tamanna huviagillaqiqattartaqa taima inuusiu iluani nalulernartu tamakkua pirurpaliatsuni piqattarsimammata inuusittinnu tamaani ukiuqtartumiugujugun ilinniavimmullu iternikuujugun inuttitullarillu inuugunneernikuujugun uqumaitsanermun tikiqatauqattarsimagatta taima pigunnasianginnivut kangugillugulu ilaanni taimeeqattaqsimatsuta kisiani sunatuinnaitamakkua atsuqornatukkut iluliliinnaumata inuusiu iluani piruqpallianivut amma inuusiu iluani qaavimatsianginnivut ilinniarni tamakkua silluugiqattarsimajavut nunalinnullu katititauneqisimajavut tamakkua aqqaaguni qaangirtuni unikkaaqijavut inutuinnaulluta kisiani ikajuqumallarittuni saqqirtuqaqattartu tamaani ukiortartumi suurlumaanna katigunnartitaugatta iliqqusimu pittutigillugu such a time as this maanna imaittukkut tamanna inuuqatigiinnermut inunnuulingaju pigumajaullaqitsuni ilinniatitsigutaugumallaritsuni aulatja gutaullaqitsuni nangirsijuni takuqattaqatta utuutigilugu Amy taikkua research miittut universitykut tamanna uqauserituinnartaqa tappuuna ilanga alaqqarsimamman miittut universitykut tamanna uqauserituinnartaqa tappuuna ilanga alaqqarsimamman kisiani akaungilliuqutigiqattartavut tamakku uqumailliuqutigiqattartavut piungituinnauninginning takuvalliagunniaqattaqattigu ilippalliaqattaqatta maqippalliaqattaqatta nalugijavullu qaujipalliaqattaqattigu tamaunaarnikuugaluarsuta inuujugun atoqsimajutaikkua uqumailliuqutigisimajavut uvattinnutuqaangangittut imailingagutigisimajavut taikkua atorniliit makinnerming suungunerming ilukkut tigusipalliagutigisiuqigattigu ajoqertuijiummigama ajoqertuijiummigama inulimaanun uqartuming taikani titiqarsimajuming imailingajoqartum inunnutamai naminnutuinnalimaanun tuqaartuming I have plans for you plans to prosper you and not to harm you nakomi